the end of last week's Parsha, we have Yussie in prison, who, after interpreting the dreams for the Sar Mashkim and the Sar Ophim, so he asks of the Sar Mashkim that when you come out of prison, as I predicted in the interpretation, then please remember me and tell Paro that I'm here innocently and I should be taken out. The beginning of our Parsha continues that story and says, Vayhi Meiketz Shnasayim Yom. It was at the completion of 2 years. And then after 2 years, finally Paro has his dreams and so on and so forth, and the Sar Mashkim remembers the story. And as we all know, Yosef is taken out. And so Chazal already, pick up on that phraseology of Vayhi Meiketz Shnasayim Yom. It was at the completion of 2 years. It's the completion of 2 years. After 2 years. So Chazal in the Medrash comment that this is a reference to the pasuk of Ketz Samach Cheshach. Ketz Samach Cheshach means, as Chazal explained, means that there are certain times in life where the Bari Olam or Hashem decrees that a person has to go through what's called darkness. And there's a certain time that's allotted for each person, unfortunately, to have to go through that. And what Chazal are explaining, the pasuk is telling us, Vayhi Meiketz Shnasayim Yom, means that it was decreed from heaven that Yosef HaTzadik should spend 2 years in prison. And at the completion of that decree, Yosef HaTzadik is finally let out. The lesson for us is that, of course, a person has to do whatever they can that's within their power to better their situation. That's for sure. But sometimes a person finds oneself in a situation that's beyond their control, and it's somewhat difficult. It's a time of darkness. Then a person has to remember this idea, which is Ketz Samach Cheshach, that there's a certain time that Hashem has decreed a person has to deal with that darkness. And the objective then is not to kick and scream and to be upset about the situation and to bemoan your lot. Rather, the situation is to do the best you can in the situation that you're in, and to handle it as best as possible. There's a Gemara, for example, that tells a story, very simply, that Rabbi Akiva was once on a boat, and a storm came, and the boat capsized, and he was lost at sea, and everyone that heard about that event were mourning Rabbi Akiva's death. They thought he was lost. And so the Gemara tells us that miraculously the next day Rabbi Akiva just washed up on shore alive. And they asked Rabbi Akiva how he survived. And Rabbi Akiva said that he found a piece of driftwood. And he held onto that driftwood for dear life. And whenever a wave came, he bowed his head, allowing the wave to pass over him. And that's how he survived. The Gemara is not only telling us strategy how to survive being lost at sea. The Gemara is telling us a strategy how to deal with life. That very often a person is lost and there's difficulties in life, and that's decreed upon them. And it's not within their power necessarily to get out of that. And then the objective is to bend your head and allow the tzar to pass, allow the darkness to pass. Because ultimately there is an end. Ketz Samach Cheshach, there's an end to darkness, and at some point Hashem does take you out. And the situation is, the responsibility is to do the best you can within your power to get out of it. But if things are beyond one's control, then you bow your head and allow the wave to pass, then you do the best you can to better your situation in that moment. That's all you can do. We have to daven to Hashem, we should be able to get out of that darkness, and Hashem should help both individually and collectively, that we should be able to see the redemption of our people with the revelation of Mashiach, and Thank you, Hashem.